Welcome to the Double Indemnity podcast. I'm your host, Toby Clegg, along with my co-host, Stuart Reid. And today we are joined by the legendary figure, Henry Engelhardt, who is the CEO
Emeritus.
I knew I'd get that wrong, so I thought that was an easy one to start with.
It was ex-CEO.
Yeah, that kind of eternal CEO. I think I like
Eternal
that.
CEO.
And founder of Admiral, of course. Henry, obviously, it's an enormous privilege to have you on today.
Well, thank you for having me.
We're super excited by the opportunity to grill you, not just on your career, but also on a plug for your book as well.
Thank you.
Be a Better Boss, which
Yes.
I absolutely hugely enjoyed reading. And obviously, I clearly need it as well, which is always good. I thought we'd start off with a relatively soft one. So I was going to say, obviously, we've heard an Englishman in New York, but an American in Cardiff. That's an unusual story.
Yes, well, we started, we weren't in Cardiff originally, and in fact, I'll tell you a funny story about finding Cardiff.
Yep.
But my wife is French. The UK is our compromise. We speak English, we get American football on Sunday nights, and we're a hop, skip, and a jump from Paris.
Fantastic.
And we've been here not too far shy of 40 years.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
And if you started again, would Cardiff be, was it a good home for you? Did it work very well? Would
Yeah,
it
it's
be
been
some
fabulous, really.
support from the local government?
Or, I mean, we were a business plan team in London, and we knew we could locate the business kind of anywhere outside the M25. Although, as we were talking earlier, we did look at Canary Wharf, which at the time was a ghost town, absolute ghost town. And so we're going to put the business outside the M25. We sent off letters to 10 areas where you get grants for locating businesses. We only heard from one. We contacted some of the others, and they all said, yeah, lovely business plan. If you do locate here, let us know. Maybe we can help you. Meanwhile, a slew of Welsh agencies were falling all over themselves to get us to locate out in Cardiff. But we were ready to go to Brighton. We had a building picked out, no grant, but that was all right. And we were about a month away from moving in. And the WDA, as it was then, offered us a £1 million grant to locate in Cardiff.
Oh, wow.
And as a startup, we couldn't refuse it. We got off to a flying start. We were cash flow positive at the end of February, our second month. We were cash flow positive. But we took the million. Don't think too bad. But I reckon we put well over $3 billion back in the local economy, growing at 300 to 400 million a year.
So how many people did you have there at the height?
We started we started with 56.
Yeah.
There were 56 of us on day one.
Yeah.
And now it's somewhere between 8 and 10,000.
I mean, that's got to be one of the top employers there.
Yeah, we're a good employer.
Yeah.
That's an amazing story. With Admiral, obviously, it's a synonymous brand. I very much enjoyed an answer that you gave recently where I said, has Admiral potentially reached a limit? I said they've got to about 20% of the market share. And I just loved your enthusiasm when you shot back and said, well, got 80 to go.
80 to go.
I just thought, what a great answer.
Yeah.
And you're kind of, if I'm allowed to say, American positivity, enthusiasm that comes through in the book as well, that leadership. Has that been a real driver? And has that been, the beneficiary of that has been Admiral, I guess, and obviously the staff have utilised that energy that you've given them?
Yeah, I'm sure there's an element of that, but time, you evolve, and I certainly probably have become more British in that, when you go to a restaurant and it's not very good, and when you're leaving, they say, "How was everything?" You go, "Fine."
Yeah, absolutely.
An American would say, "Well, this and this and this and this was wrong,"
Yeah, we're far too polite.
Everything was fine, thank you.
Yeah.
We know it.
But I think we have that whole, that there's very much that yes we can spirit in Admiral Group.
Has the DNA that you left it, the leadership DNA, has that continued on? I mean, you built it in, is it fair to say, in your image, obviously with the team alongside you, but it really is a thrusting organisation. It's a fabulous story. Obviously, for some of the brokers and others listening today, they could only but hope for a measure of the success that you had. Do you think its continuing success is largely down to the way you left it and obviously the new leadership that's come in? Was that a hard transition to hand it over?
The new leadership, I mean, these are people that I hired and worked with for many years, by and large, obviously some new faces in the crowd, but it's better than ever. They're really that can-do attitude and let's think big attitude, and all these types of things are very much present in the business.
Yeah, historically, the areas of business that you are involved in are tough for some of the competitors. So what was it that made you choose that area of business to get into?
Well, the first car insurance itself, I was the original sales and marketing manager at Churchill and was headhunted out to start up what's become Admiral Group. But we looked at the market with Admiral and we saw that this new direct thing that everybody was doing, there was Direct Line, there was Churchill, there was GA 1-to-1, there were a bunch of others. They were all going after that good driver market, suburban, small cars, lower premiums, but good drivers. And we recognized we couldn't compete with those guys on day one in terms of efficiency and all. So let's look at the other part of the market, which is the higher premium business. And we realized that these people shop more because they're paying more and have more to gain by shopping around. They're generally younger and or bigger cars. Those were the combinations, city dwellers, that type of market. Mm-hmm. And they were underserved by the direct entrance into the market. So we went after that market and then created a much better way and a more sophisticated way of doing our rating. Yeah. When we were working on the business plan, I remember we went into an insurance broker in London. And we, to get a quote to see how it all would work if we went into this broker. And the guy takes out a plastified card and asks us a few questions, and he looks and he gets the multipliers off the card and he gives us the quote. And we said, oh, could we take the card? And he said, yeah, here. And he basically gave us Norwich Union's rating engine. And that's how it was done in the day. So, the techniques that we employed now obviously would seem pedestrian, but in the day they were quite radical and new ways of looking at it, and we were able to find within the big broad brush of, say, younger drivers, there are many, many, many good younger drivers and some less good. And we were able to save those good drivers a lot of money because they were all being tarred with that ugly brush of being younger drivers.
Brilliant.
And do you think that maintains today? Do you think there are still specialisms in that market that can be filled that the competition aren't catering for very well, or is it much more egalitarian now?
It's much more egalitarian because everybody's using sophisticated techniques now for rating, and in a sense, we don't care about the risk. We just care about offering a rate we think is the right rate for the risk. And there's an old saying: there are no bad risks, only bad premiums.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, somebody who has accidents or a bad record or something, they can be a fabulous insurance risk for the right premium.
Yeah.
Now, maybe they can't afford that premium. That's the problem. But a driver who pays very little may be good in that they don't make a lot of claims, but that may not be a good risk for the insurer because it's low premium and they've got expenses and so forth to cover. So it's finding the right rate for the individual.
Interesting. I mean, when we look at the market, there's a lot of youngsters coming into it now. We're doing our bit to try and encourage them to come in. There's lots of initiatives. Looking at your energy, positivity, the way you've grown it, you are a bit of I can't even say poster child anymore, probably poster man, poster boy. The industry, if I'm allowed to say that. I know, definitely not a child anymore. I'm going to say it again, poster person for the industry. How would you encourage people in, and how would you say to them, look, this is something worth looking at, that you've had a fabulous career out of it, you've obviously done very well financially as well, and that's fair to say, but you've also led a team, and that's what clearly comes through in the book, is that you've enjoyed that process. You do it all again, I presume, and obviously you'd encourage others to look at insurance as a destination.
Well, definitely not. We don't want the competition.
Right,
but no, if I was, yes. I mean, it's a fantastic industry and business. I mean, first of all, how many products out there are priced differently by who buys them?
Yeah.
There are very few.
Yeah.
How many products are compulsory purchase?
Yep.
It's not should I or shouldn't I, it's who from.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And that combination is both great and not great. I mean, there's a lot of things that come with being compulsory purchase.
Sure.
And difficulties of making sure that you really hone in and get exactly the right rate for the individual.
Yeah.
So, for instance, the EU took out gender rating a number of years ago. And, you can do gender rating for hairdressers. They don't charge the same, but not for insurance, which, we don't look at it and say, oh, let's bash the men today or something like that. Insurers look at the numbers and they say, this one's making us money, we can lower our rates some. This one's losing us money, we have to raise our rates some. You could do it blindfoldly, never knowing what the actual point that you're rating on, and you would rate it the same. Because we're just really, painting by numbers.
Yeah.
It is a great industry, though, isn't it? I heard, you may know, but I heard in Germany that all cars renew on the same day.
Yeah, yeah.
Most. Yeah.
I mean, go figure, right? I mean,
January 1st. and you have to give your insurer a month's notice. So right now is the moment for car insurance in Germany, November, because by the end of November, they have to have given notice to their previous insurer for a January 1st switch.
Yeah.
And
it's crazy.
That's crazy.
I was talking to Ashwin Mystery, who runs Actuaries.
Yeah.
He's quite big in Germany. He's going, oh, this is just such a spike.
Yep.
But I mean, two of the other economics, I guess, or benefits purely on a capital side is it's annually renewable, which is fantastic. I mean, who comes back to a restaurant even that they like every year?
Yep.
Yeah.
And cash generative.
Absolutely.
I mean, and those two are you know, from a corporate commercial point of view, are great things for our industry. Yep. But what about the industry just generally? I mean, you've obviously attracted a lot of talent in Cardiff. There's 8,000 to 10,000 people there. You know, there still has, I think we still apologise, don't we, occasionally?
Absolutely.
That we came into
We
the
fell
industry.
into insurance.
Fell
into it. So
there's a desperate desire for us to be more proud of the industry that we're part of. I guess you're hopefully proud of what you've built. Do you feel that that's an issue, or you don't come across that?
I don't. I mean, I can see that it's an issue, but what I tell the people at Admiral is, you know, it's a funny business. Everybody who contacts us has a problem, right? If you were selling high-end shoes, it's not like the person coming in is barefoot, right, and needs a pair of shoes. They want to buy the shoes to look good. But everybody who contacts us for car insurance has a problem. They have to buy it. It's expensive. It's compulsory purchase. They don't understand it necessarily. If they have a claim, that's a real problem, right? Something happened. Even if they move house, they have to tell us about a change of address. So our whole thing we do every day is just help people. That's what we do. And I tell them, when you go home in the evening, you should say, wow, that was pretty good. I got the opportunity to help 42 people today.
nice way of looking at it.
It's just about helping people. And maybe that's where the industry, you know, sometimes falls down, is it doesn't follow up and give the help that the people need. And so, you know, our mantra at Admiral always has been, customer, the customer, the customer, the customer, the customer. Yeah, they pay all the bills, they make the cash register ring, and I will stand up and talk to Admiral people and I'll say very simply, you do the math, if we didn't have any customers, how many people would we employ?
Yep, very true.
That's your first and most important lesson. It's all about the customer.
Absolutely. Can we move on a little bit and just talk about leadership generally? You are demonstrably a very good leader, and obviously you've got a huge infectious enthusiasm. And our industry at times can suffer a bit from, we had Jane Kilty sat on this very chair saying something about sentiment, and the UK sentiment at the moment is a bit down, let's be honest, that people are not very happy with their politicians. I think I'm allowed to say that.
Nor in America too, but let's not
maybe across the world.
Different podcast.
Yeah, different podcast. But in terms of leadership and what you've seen, not just in the insurance space, but just generally, you can be the difference, that you make the difference in both a company and obviously that infectious enthusiasm you can bring to it. Can you just give us a few examples of some fun times you had leading people, some anecdotes, and just give us a sense of the Henry Engelhardt Leadership 101?
Well, yes. I mean, you're absolutely right. The culture of a company starts at the top and, you know, cascades down. And it's so important. When I hear stories of businesses who say, oh, we've called in some consultants to advise us on culture. I go, what? You know, because even if the consultant said, here should be your culture, if the people at the top aren't living and breathing and absolutely submerged in that culture, it will not work, because the culture will very much be a reflection of them. And our culture always was one of, you know, work hard, you know, be great to customers. The bottom line will take care of itself if you're great with customers and you can bring in enough customers. And, you know, we should have a good time. Yeah. We should, you know, but there are 4 pillars to the Admiral culture. And it's pillars because they all have individual cultures, by office, by department, by even team, because they're run by different people and different people in them. But the 4 pillars are communication, equality, reward, and fun. So it's not, the culture isn't just about fun. That's the part that people pick up on, because we have a ministry of fun, and we do have fun. But communication is absolutely crucial and absolutely key. Upwards, downwards, sideways, left, right, every which way, all the time, takes a huge amount of effort to make sure there's great communication in your organization. Equality, we are a business. People have different job titles, different salaries, different responsibilities, but we try and get rid of the obvious divides between people. And one thing, for instance, that covers both communication and equality is that there are no managerial offices in Admiral Group.
Right.
You go to Swansea, you go to Delhi, you go to Halifax in Nova Scotia, no managerial offices. We have meeting rooms for privacy, but all the managers sit out. Milena Mondini, CEO, FTSE 50 company, sits open plan with everybody else.
Amazing. Wow.
And it's both communication, because everybody's accessible, but it's also about, hey, we're all in this together. And when I was CEO, I met every new starter that came into Admiral, some 20 to 25,000 people over 25 years. Wow. And one of the things I did, I would speak to them and I would listen to them, but one of the things I did, I gave each and every one a puzzle piece. Yep. And I said, look at your puzzle piece. Can you tell me what the big picture is? And of course, nobody can look at a single piece and know what the picture is. Yeah. And then I say, well, that's the point. We put all the pieces together. We all work together. Everybody in this organization plays a part in seeing the big picture. Everybody is important. Otherwise, why would we hire you? Yeah. We don't want to hire for jobs that aren't important. Every job is important. Yeah. And a lot of CEOs, I think, miss the point that the people who have that touch on your customer, be it on the phones, in person, writing code, whatever it is, they are incredibly important to your organization. Yes. And if you don't treat them as if because the most important person in the company is the customer, and the ones who touch the customer are next. And you need to talk to them, you need to learn from them, you need to make sure they're happy. We have a simple philosophy at Admiral. If people like what they do, they'll do it better.
Yeah.
Right? True. And if you think about what you have done well in your careers, right?
We're still waiting for that.
Okay, maybe school days. Maybe school days.
It's time for you yet, Stuart.
But I'm sure you'll land on the fact that you liked what you were doing. Yeah. When you did the things well. You can be forced sometimes to do good work, but it's not long lasting. And we're in for the long game. Yeah. So we want our people to be happy in the office because we're convinced that will translate to them doing a better job.
It reminds me of the story, it's probably apocryphal, but it reminds me of the story. There was a CEO and he wasn't interacting with any of the fellow employees, etc. And they had a big office, 12 floors. And his PA went up to him and said, look, it's the last day before Christmas. Can you make an effort? Yeah. Wish people happy Christmas. So apparently he got in the lift and pressed all the floors. And so the lift would come down, open plan office, the doors would open, and he'd shout, Happy Christmas.
Really?
And then the doors would shut. That was his attempt. Wow. But it does come from the top, right?
So it's a good story, the Christmas, because from the very first year, I started a tradition of walking around and giving each person a Rose's chocolate, right? Yeah. And the first year I did this, it was one tin and took me about an hour and a half at the most, right? The last year I did it was 75 tins and took me 5 days. Wow. But I made sure every year, just before Christmas, somewhere the week before Christmas, I would walk around and wish every member of staff a happy holiday and the chocolate. And it's a tradition that people at Admiral remember even today.
It's the small things, right? Certainly, we bought a very big office and I wrote to everybody. But they said, do you want auto pen, as it's now called? But, no, I'll sign. You're just there for hours signing these letters. So many people, when I went round, said that they did this on the signature to see if you'd made the effort to... Right. It just makes a big difference, right?
Yes, the handwritten thank you note is very important. Part of the reward is to say thank you to people.
Wasn't that a thing at Admiral, though, that you used to have cards? You used to issue loads of cards, wasn't that?
So after I kind of retired from CEO, I did do a stint in our U.S. office for almost a year. And the office did not have a culture of thanking people and so forth. So the very first week I was there, I got all my managers together and I gave each of them a thank you card, and I said, this was on Wednesday, and I said, by the end of day Friday, handwrite a note to anybody in this organization and leave it on their desk by the end of the day Friday. Yeah. And they did. And the next week I went in, I gave them all the thank you note and same instruction. The following week, on Wednesday, I went in, they said, where are the thank you cards?
Excellent.
And
Yeah,
they started to
habit.
grab 10 at a time. And these things are popping up all over the place.
Yeah.
And people are so proud that a manager in the organization has handwritten a note to them. I even got a thank you note from a guy thanking me for sending him a thank you note.
That's amazing.
That's a win-win, isn't it?
Just another quick question on that. Just looking around at companies, a lot of them have to be quite financially orientated these days, obviously because public companies, you expect that. There's a real pressure on them. But, and obviously all private equity interests, whatever it is. But I always get a sense with Admiral that it was very much focused on, as you say, customers first, but it was very much market orientated. You're always looking at new products, new growth. It wasn't necessarily driven by the financials, although that was an important element. Is that a fair comment? Or?
Well, yes and no. I mean, first of all, you're always driven by the financials if you're a business.
Yep.
And even the culture. Your culture is there to produce better outcomes.
Yep.
If you're a business, that means profits. If you're a different type of organization, it may be other good outcomes.
Yeah.
And if your culture doesn't produce those better outcomes, you need to review your culture.
Sure.
But one of there are three things I think that go into making a really great leader or manager. And one of them is creativity. You cannot expect to do things just the way everybody else has done them and do better than they are. You need to be creative, you need to foster an environment of creativity. And that means you have to foster an environment of trust, because people aren't going to go out on a limb and be creative if they think they're going to have their legs chopped off at the knees, right? They need to be a feeling that I can bring up something that sounds crazy and people go, let me think about that, or whatever it is. And that creativity is absolutely vital in every aspect of your business. And people deep in these larger organizations, they know their jobs and what they have to do so much better than you do.
Yeah.
And if you give them the freedom to be creative, they'll be able to do their jobs much better. But if you have to make all decisions, or it has to go through some chain and nothing gets done and so forth without time lapsing and people being ignored and so forth, that just doesn't foster that environment. And then people just shut down.
Yeah.
And when they shut down, you don't get their best work.
Absolutely. Interesting.
One of the people that we've had on this podcast is Mike Keating, who runs the MGAA. And MGAs in our business, I appreciate it's somewhat different in your world, but MGAs are on the up and up. And it's insurance companies basically giving their brand away, ultimately. Do you see that as quite a strange development in that obviously you haven't done such a thing and you've built up a brand, et cetera, et cetera. Do you feel that it's a sort of admission of failure that the insurance companies can't deal with clients direct and they're subcontracting their brand and subcontracting their capacity out to others to do so?
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, there is perhaps an element of that, but it also could be, hey, we do certain things well, and these guys do certain things well. We might as well partner up and do everything well. It may not be an admission of failure, it just might be an honest analysis of where your strengths are, and let's play to our strengths. We believe in a sense in that direct relationship, that customer ownership.
Yes, you weren't intermediaries. Sorry to interrupt, but intermediaries or brokers were not part of your.
In some of our non-UK operations, they do, because that's how the customers choose to transact. And to say we know better than our customers, they'll all come this way when they don't, is also a bit of folly. So you have to go the route that your customers are going, and if that means someone else has a better ability to market and sell and maybe do midterm service, well, then that's what we've got to do. We've got to fit the world. We can't expect the world always to go to us.
Fair enough.
But we prefer to have that one-to-one relationship.
Because you can control your own service and you can control your own product.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Do you want to?
Yes, right. So time for we always ask a guest if you've got one thing you would leave us with. It can be a controversial or even sensitive topic, something for our listeners and viewers to actually go away and really think about and say, "Oh, Henry was right on this," or make them ponder a bit more on something. What would you say?
I'd love for people to think about leadership and management, because a lot of people do a lot of leading and managing, but they don't do a lot of thinking.
Yeah.
And when I do talks, and I might be 70 or 80 people in the audience, maybe more, and I'll ask, who here has ever had a bad boss? How many people do you think raise their hand?
All of them, I guess.
That's right.
Yeah.
All of them. And I don't get it. I don't get it, because bad bosses don't really get the best from people. People don't stick around, so you're constantly having to start again with with new people, which is, you're losing a lot because you're losing that experience and so forth. And I just think the world has an acute shortage of great leaders and managers, and we need to do something about that. We need to understand really what makes that great leader or manager. But I think what we've shown at Admiral is that when you treat people really well, you get better financial results. People look at our financial results, which have been stunning and still are even more stunning, and then they look and say, oh, you're constantly winning great place to work competitions and so forth like that. And they go, oh, those two things are great. And they don't get it, because without winning those competitions, we probably would not be producing those great financial results.
Yeah.
And that's just hugely important, is I want to achieve this financially. How do I do that? What is the best way to motivate and inspire my team all day, every day?
Yeah, get people to work with you rather than for you, right?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
To be part of it.
Yeah.
And one of the other things we've done at Admiral, which I think has gone, has been a really big driver of some of our success, is everybody's a shareholder. And this started when we did our management buyout at the end of '99. Yeah. And has continued to this day, and twice a year, publicly listed, we give out shares in the company. We want our people to feel like owners. Yeah. Well, the only way to really do that is to give them part of the company to own. And it has a big impact. It's a great motivator for people.
It's huge. And I would guess some of the answers and the best place to start is obviously in your book, isn't it? So there you go.
You're on commission, are you, as well?
Sign it.
Absolutely fascinating to meet you.
Great.
I really appreciate you coming.
I could easily do a few hours on my favorite subject.
So could we.
Maybe we'll have you back.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
Great
Have
stuff.
the Christmas special. Yeah. Bring the box of roses.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Great to be here.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for listening.